Good morning, everybody. Today, we have a lecture on incorporating ethics in engineering education in India, challenges and looking forward by Professor Reena Chaluvat. I hope Cheruvelat, sorry if I misspoke your name. Um, she's a professor at the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at BITS Pilani, KK Birla Goa campus. She's been part of the institute since 2006. She did her postdoctoral research in cognitive science at the Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. She was awarded a PhD in philosophy from Calicut University campus. Additionally, she has a master's degree in education. She was a visiting fellow at the University of Victoria, British Columbia, Tokyo University, Kyoto University, and Waseda University in Japan. She has received a data collection abroad fellowship from ICSSR. She has published many research articles in peer-reviewed journals and book chapters. She has been researching on introducing new pedagogies to improve ethical sensitivity among students in engineering education. Presently, she works in the area of moral cognition and educational psychology. Before I hand over the mic to the Professor Chirvelat, I want to mention that one of the important parts of engineering is that if you look at ASME, Code of Ethics, some of the first principles, I won't read out the whole thing, it's 2 pages. Engineers shall hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of the public in the performance of their professional duties. Also, being honest and impartial and serving with fidelity their clients, including their employers and the public. There are a lot more. I can put the link for you if you want, but I think it is a very important component of engineering education and ethics in the profession. And I really look forward to listening to Professor Chervelat on this topic. With that, I hand over the mic to Reena. Go ahead. It's all
Thank
yours.
you, Professor Ishwaran. First of all, I will start with the need for discussing ethics in general. Then I will come to the Indian scenario, that is engineering education in India. What are the challenges and how we can address them? Okay. Now, if we take in general, people in a professional context, people employ personal morality instead of professional ethics. Now, because it's due to the lack of ignorance or lack of knowledge or ignorance, or it is not really understanding the distinction between personal morality and ethics. Now, personal morality, if we take, that is purely subjective, and for example, my personal morality is different from yours, or my rights and wrongs may be different from yours. But when there is no agreement. But when we come to ethics, that when we talk about now here, I am using ethics as a professional ethics. It is there is an agreement, because personal morality is why I'm saying subjective, because there is an influence of culture and religion when people take, say, what to say, moral standards. When they formulate moral standards, it is on the basis of their culture or religion. Now, when we say that culture or religion, that is, for example, suppose someone who is coming from a sociocultural background where violence is accepted as a norm, or this simple example, if we take in our culture, violence is used to discipline children. So it is accepted that you can be violent, that it's not necessarily physical violence, but mental abuse, mental violence. So when a person with such a socio-cultural background come to a professional context, that person might shout at colleagues, or or think like that This is the only way to get the works done, or disciplining the juniors or colleagues, etc. So there is a distinction between personal morality and professional ethics. Professional ethics means there is an agreement in professional ethics, in the sense this we can consider professional ethics as do's and don'ts prescribed by any organization as part of their policy, or the code of conduct given by professional associations or professions in general. So there is a distinction, and to understand that distinction, that personal morality we cannot use to make ethical judgment at a workplace. It is important to discuss professional ethics. And also sometimes people say that I am ethical, then why should I discuss ethics, or why should I learn ethics? Now there is a difference between being ethical and having ethical sensitivity. Ethical sensitivity means that the awareness that my action or behavior has certain implications on others, or whatever the way I behave or act in an employment context or workplace can have some effect on my colleagues or my investors, or the stakeholders who are involved in that function or organization. So to understand that, because that awareness can be developed, it's a skill, and it can be developed through discussions of ethics or through training in ethics. So to understand that also we need to discuss. And as Professor Rishnan has mentioned, that as an engineering professional, it is important for them to choose best solution when there is conflicting situations. So we have to develop, we have to discuss ethics. Now, because they are concerned with social well-being or safety of the public. Now, whatever I am discussing, that some part of it, there's some contents I've taken from my recent book chapter, which is Ethics Education in Engineering Technological Institute in India, Challenges and Looking Forward. So I just gave the reference for that. Now, if we discuss engineering education, that is the concept of how ethics is incorporated in engineering education in India, there are various initiatives taken by many science and technological institutes. So we will start with the code of ethics. Some of the institute have given code of ethics for teachers or educators, and it focuses mainly on the rules and regulations and behavior in accordance with societal and cultural expectations. Now, for example, there is one IIT. They have formulated certain code of ethics for faculty members. I just show that code. I hope it is readable. This is mainly focusing on the information sharing. It's not concerned about how teachers should related to the students or colleagues or non-teaching staff, etc. It is mainly, you can see that it's the subtitle, right? It is dealing with the press, that whatever the information they are having, that they should be how they can disseminate to the public, and it is related to politics, whether they can join politics or not, and how they share the information within the institute to the public, and redressal of grievances and sexual harassment. This is the this is a summary of code of conduct given for the faculty members by the one of the IITs. Now, University Grant Commission also has given certain code of professional ethics, but this mainly focus on teachers' professional responsibilities, as well as how the relationship should be to the other stakeholders. That is, teachers, how teachers, because these are some of it are doable, and some of the codes are not very relevant. These are like common, any professional responsibility. If you take any professionals, these are doable. See, a simple example why I said that some are irrelevant. That recognize the difference in aptitude and capabilities among students and strive to meet their individual needs. Now you know that when students take admission to higher education, they have certain aptitude and related area only they choose. And identifying the capabilities of students is a bit difficult for teachers, especially in higher education, where if you have students more than 60 or 200 or 300. So individually approaching students and understanding them, it's not very easy. And so what I'm saying is that even if we have code of conduct for higher education teachers, following the codes are not very easy. And it's related to colleagues and all. It's a normal professional responsibilities, and this can be done, like being polite or being not being biased because of their membership in any certain religion or caste, etc. And related to authorities also. Then this following the rules and regulations, and related to non-teaching staff, how they should respect and also they mentioned that how teachers should have a good relationship or how to maintain a relationship with parents also and society. Now, these concepts, you can see that when if you really read, it is part of our cultural values, like how, because in India, teachers are considered as, it's equal to God. And those cultural values, you can see that these codes are developed on the basis of those cultural values. So apart from these codes, now we have All India Council for Technical Education, AICT, that's a statutory body. These prescribe certain courses based on human values, self-improvement, and maintaining good relationship. Now, this is mainly meant for undergraduate programs. They wanted to add professional ethics and value education in the third semester of this program, and mainly focusing on universal human values. And the agency wanted to have group discussions on the group discussions about universal human values. And now you can see that when we talk about ethics, it mainly focuses on general assumption that ethics is concerned about values. Now, ethics is not only about values. This is a small portion of when you take ethics as a subject. Values it's a small topic in ethics. But when general discussions and all, people often think that it is about studies of values only. Now, in alignment with that value education, in a recent policy, that our National Education Policy 2020 also prescribe that that we have to add values, or we have to follow value education, and they suggest add Panchatantra stories in the syllabus. Now, Panchatantra stories, all of you must be knowing that those consist of animal fables, but with one-dimensional characters. That means in the stories, always you can see that rewarding good characters and punishing the bad characters. Now, suppose what happens, the bad character becomes good character. So how do you deal with it? Now, there is no critical discussions in the class. And I will show you one example in the later slide. So it does not inculcate any critical thinking skills among students. So this is insufficient. That is whatever the available code or the prescribed syllabus or textbook, it's not sufficient to make a student a good decision maker. Now, how to take a better decision when you are in a conflicting situation? These value studies will not help, because you study, okay, this you should be honest, or you should respect people. So those values you learn that you wanted to absorb it. But when you are in a conflicting situation, how you take a decision, this will not help, like whatever the available codes or others prescribed text. Now, when we take engineering institutes in India, you know that we have Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, which coexist with many of the engineering disciplines in our departments. And these department, that is this Humanities and Social Science department, offer professional ethics courses or any humanities courses to engineering students. Now, there are different ways of offering this course in different institutes. Some institutes, engineering ethics or professional ethics is offered as a mandatory course, but only pass-fail. So there is no grade. And there are some institute where they give grade of like satisfactory or unsatisfactory. And if suppose a student get unsatisfactory grade, that person has to repeat till that person gets satisfactory grade. But again, it's not a letter grade, satisfactory or unsatisfactory. And there are institutes where ethics course is offered as an elective. Again, these courses are offered as not part of any engineering subjects, but as independent of the subjects. And elective, but as again, in the as I mentioned this above, that either not graded course or elective with a grade. Now, there are institutes where they have added courses like professional ethics and social responsibility. The main objective of this course is to sensitize students in various aspects of life, like rights and wrongs, etc. Now, the major problem, research shows that if a course is with a non-letter grade or not graded, it leads to poor learning attitudes and behavior of students. That is, they won't take it very seriously. Now, because they just need fail or pass. Now, when we offer a professional ethics course, it has certain objectives. That is to say, improve ethical sensitivity. Now, if it is not graded, students may not take it very seriously. So that objectives will not be met. So that is the present scenario in many of the organizations. Now, there are issues related to who should teach ethics, because you know that anybody can talk about ethics, because people think that everyone is an expertise because we know ethics. It's because we are ethical. So, you see, if you take engineering code of conduct, it says that perform services only in areas of their competence. So no engineer, you suppose the one person is a mechanical engineer, that person will not work in the area of say triply or chemical engineering. But suppose a person is an engineer, the person is ready to teach ethics. Now the problem is that, see, there are mainly the two arguments. One is that people who are like philosophers who are trained in ethics can teach. And there is another argument that because that will help because they are trained in ethics. Scientists or engineers, they can teach themselves because they know about engineering. Now, the problem is that both are like partially correct, because people who are like us, that who are trained in ethics, they know very well how to teach ethics. I mean, I'm not, there may be people who may not know how to teach. So teach ethics, and but they may lack to incorporate engineering content when they teach the this one to the engineering students. So to really engineering ethics to be effective, an ethics teacher should add examples which are really relevant from the engineering discipline, or it should really, the example should really focus on what exactly the ethical issue when you assemble something, or when you deal with some engineering material or something like that. Now, when so it is, if a teacher is not trained in that, or see, the thing is that when university, that is when we study the course like MA or BA, we are exposed only to examples which are relevant to philosophy or ethics, not exactly engineering subjects. So we as a faculty also, we might lack that knowledge. Now, when scientists or engineers teach, they are well knowledgeable in their engineering subject, but as I mentioned in the beginning, that they might be aware of ethics as values, not exactly what is the content of ethics as a subject. So, one of the major problems I have noticed when people teach, those who are not from ethics, they reach somewhere where they will put students in a confused state, and they will not be able to take an exact decision what to do in a conflicting situation, because teachers who are not trained in ethics, they may not be able to again, it's not claiming that those who are really trained in ethics can solve all the problems. It's not like that, but at least some solution people the student should be able to take, that these the scientists or engineers or any other people from other discipline might not help the students, because they don't know the exact basics of that subject. So any subject for that matter, if I am asked to teach some engineering subject, I will not be able to, because I don't know the basics of it. Also, the other issue is that because it's a delicate subject, not like our mathematics subject, 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. So there is no doubt about it. 2 plus 3 must be 5. But in ethics, if we teach something very completely opposite to the students, we will create some group of students who will some way harm the society. Simple example, if we have a concept, say affirmative action. Now, suppose I am a teacher who believe that, or suppose I am a teacher who didn't get any benefit of affirmative action, and instead I was a victim of affirmative action, because some way I applied for. There are examples like my students also say that they applied for seats in admission or some colleges, and because of affirmative action they did not get. But they don't say that I was not intelligent enough, so I didn't come to that category of 100 or within that rank. They simply say that because of affirmative action I didn't get. So if a teacher support or teacher does not support affirmative action, there is a chance that while teaching, teacher will make such an argument in such a way that it's not good, that we should not treat people who are at the bottom of social strata. We should not support them to come up, or something like that. Some biased argument they might make. So it is important for a teacher who teach ethics to be objective whenever they make arguments, or whenever they deal with these kinds of delicate issues, because it's very there are the agreement disagreement related to affirmative action, and also a teacher should be very careful in taking the teaching ethics. Now, so there is the issue to solve the issue that how philosophers who are trained in ethics, or engineers or scientists who are teaching ethics, better is that we need to have a collaborative teaching. That is, engineers can contribute when examples are introduced, how exactly ethical issues come, what are the social implications. So that instructors from engineering discipline can help. Now, another issue related to, again, teachers, that as you know that this HSS humanities and social science departments, they are part of science and technology institutes, and they may not offer core programs in their area. Some programs, some institute, they offer like there are institute they offer programs in humanities and social science areas, core program like PG and all. But there are institute, they don't offer anything. Now, as these faculty members offer mainly electives, they may not be treated with equally as their counterparts in engineering and science disciplines. And teachers might feel like alienated, or they don't feel like they are part of that organization, and they may not get job satisfaction. So what happens when suppose a person who are trained in philosophy, now state universities or central university, in India, they offer core programs in philosophy, ethics, etc. So these teachers, they prefer to teach universities or colleges where these philosophy and all are offered as a core program than offering this as an elective in an engineering institute. So those who are really qualified, they might leave the institute and they join the other institute, then finally ending up that ethics and all will be taught by the scientists or engineers who may not be trained. And another so there is another solution that if we add, when we discuss like examples and all, some content of engineering subject in philosophy curriculum, and that will help the candidates, students to really connect engineering and ethics so that they can teach engineering ethics well. Now, related to another issue is how we can teach and how we can evaluate. That teaching ethics, as I mentioned in the previous one, that we cannot teach ethics through lecturing. That simply, if I, now this presentation also, if I present something, it may not be effective when we talk about ethics, because what are the arguments I am making, people might have some disagreement. Now, to strengthen my argument, I should know what they think and how they disagree, what are their reasons to disagree. Then only we can strengthen that argument, because if you take any ethical dilemma, it has n number of solutions. Now, so choosing that best solution is possible only if we have a lot of discussion from multiple perspectives, that people can give various perspectives to an issue and find out what can be the best solution. So often the preferred method is group discussion or case study analysis or debates. Now, case also that see, that's why in the previous slide I mentioned that philosophy, when we discuss philosophy examples, that we have one theory, let's say utilitarianism. It's concerned about consequences. So often people take the example of trolley case, that suppose one train is coming, and in one track there are 5 people, and one track there is one fellow. And if the driver pulls that trigger, that 5 people can be killed, or so whom to say, whether 1 or 5. So these kinds of examples, I think that it is not very useful for an engineering student to take these kinds of examples, rather than taking professional cases, which are real case examples, and ask them to solve it, or ask them to discuss how it can be solved best. So mainly professional case studies, not there's also some research we have done that shows that professional cases are more effective than asking them to discuss personal cases, some personal scenarios. So that that when teaching professional ethics, adding more professional case studies, discussing it will help. Now, also evaluation that as is different from other subjects. Simply, if we ask direct questions, they will get they will answer it, and some people will get good marks. But higher grade, if a person gets higher grade, say A grade, that doesn't mean that the person is more ethical than a person who got say C grade or D grade. So that questions also, it's very important to make it more application level, and it should not happen that no there should not be any chance for them to write in such a way that just to show off that they know ethics, but actually they don't follow. So there is no point in like that. Like we teach something, and later it comes out that they don't have any ethical sensitivity. They don't bother whether they are harming someone or not. So it should be, the teachers should be very careful when they prepare questions also. Now, related to students, the problem with the students who are coming for engineering program, they expect that they will learn only their disciplinary subjects, or their expectation is so high that they think that the first day itself they will start learning how to build rocket, or you know so they are not there is no orientation for them to think that whatever they do as an engineer has certain implications on society, or they should be concerned about society, or whatever they are manufacturing, that they should concerned about, they should check whether it is safe for the society or not. That connection is not there, that they have not understood the connection well. So when they take these electives, that what are the electives we offer, again they may not take it seriously. They do only for the sake of, because they have to for the graduation they have to complete these courses as mandatory electives. And apart from that, so what I meant is that they are not very serious about these courses. Even ethics course we offer as seriously, but students may not take it seriously sometimes. Now, another issue is that there is a lack of foundation, or we can put it in a different way, that whatever they learn from school, it is not sufficient to develop basic knowledge in ethics. There are schools, if we take Indian scenario, there are schools which offer moral science as part of moral education. It does not discuss ethics as a subject. It's mainly value based, and as I told you that in the previous slide, that the story that I will read out one small story in one textbook. It indicates, like you can understand that there is no critical discussion, or critical, it will not improve the critical thinking skills of the student. So this story is like this. There was a saint who was resting under a tree. Two birds in the tree disturbed his sleep, and he cursed the birds, and the birds were burned to death. The saint was very proud of his power. Then he visited a house to collect his alms. The lady in the house said, "Please wait for a while until I give food to my husband and children." The saint got angry and asked, "Do you know who I am?" The lady replied, "Do you have any plan to charm me to death as you did to the birds with your power?" He was surprised and became respectful. Now, from this story, what students will learn? Students will learn that, okay, there are people with the power who can burn the other ones to death, or it is lady of the house, that the duty of the lady of the house to feed their husband and children. Husband has no role. It's always women's duty. And if you are coming from a culture where these works are done by always women, so men have no role, that no that so children will learn like that only. The value also, what value they are learning, it is quite surprising. And the method, I asked some teachers, like, what method you follow to teach these stories? So they just read out the stories. That's all. So, and there is no question answer, or there is no discussion about whether it exactly happens. Like, anybody can really curse somebody to, in school education, it does not help uh, to develop or foster critical thinking skills among students. Now, there are schools where it's called awakened citizen programs. It is for 3 years at the secondary level. Now, that is, it starts from 8, 9, 10. So I checked with some students whether how do they do it. Now, these courses there are courses part of this program, and these courses are not graded. So the teacher will come and they will show some videos, and that's it. So I asked whether you have learned something from that video. Then they said, no, we don't watch those very seriously because it's not assessed. So we don't watch. Now, but the content is very good. I have gone through the content. It's inculcating different values and different concept, relationship, maintaining good relationship, etc. Content is very good, but implementation is not. Then third year is a 10th standard. Now 10th standard means very critical for people. It's there's a board exam. Then you don't have any time for moral education. They use that period for maths or science or other subjects. It's not taught at all. So even if there are programs or policy implementation policies formulated by the government or other agencies, it's not implemented in a proper way. So students who come out of it, they have certain the moral standards, whatever the criteria they develop to assess something as right or wrong. It's completely personal. And there is nothing like seeking objective truth to find out what exactly is ethically right or wrong. And so they are not equipped with those kinds of knowledge when they complete their school education. And those who come to this college, now it will be very difficult for the teachers to develop critical thinking. It's not very easy. It's not very easy process. So as an outcome of these factors, that people lack, that students they don't know how to identify ethical aspects in issues, and and because of lack of training in critical thinking skills, they may not be able to look an issue from multiple perspectives. Because if a person thinks, okay, this is right, then the person may not be able to see others' perspective, why it cannot be right, or why it can have some other way of looking at that particular issue. And also that there are various influencing factors for ethical decision making, maybe environmental or biological. Suppose I am not in a good mood, I am very angry. The ethical judgment which I make about my colleague or someone's behavior or action might be also wrong. Or suppose I am that social environment is not good. In such a situation, the person may be very frustrated. That again leading to that making ethical judgment may be wrong. So these are the general situations we have to address when we talk about professional ethics. So it's very important that we have to develop critical thinking skills among students. And for that, because when we take ethical decision, people often say it's intuitive. Now, in a professional context, if we take intuitive decision by an engineer, that will not work. So the person should make an exact argument why this decision is better than some other decision. So it is very important for an engineer to provide reason for their decisions. Then they will be able to identify whether is there any limitation or weakness in their in ethical judgment. Now, there are various criteria we use to assess ethical judgment, that we can check what is the consequences. Like as an engineer, the person can foresee the consequences. And this criteria is very easy to use because you have to check that what is the consequences and who will be the affected parties, and how whether the consequences are bad or good for them, like that. And also another criteria generally we follow is to check the intention of the duty of the doer, because sometimes consequence might be good, but the intention of the person might be bad. And also that we can check whether the person choose and also whether how to follow that moderation. It means like, especially in Aristotle argument, they propose that we should have a practical wisdom to follow moderation. That is, it should not be too deficient, and should not be too excess in the sense. As a virtuous person, we should know what to do exactly, which will bring which make a person to lead a good life. So this, like, suppose someone asks you for some help and you can help that person. So there was one lady who asked for a mobile. So that other person bought a mobile. Then after some time, she wanted to help for building a house. Again, that person helped for building a house. But then later she told that she wanted to help because her son is getting married. And so that person has to be virtuous to understand that this that lady is exploiting me. So it's a theory of moderation. Or people say that courage is a virtue, but when a lion comes to attack you, that courage is not fighting against a lion, but to run away. So these are some of the criteria to that people can use to assess the situation and identify the. So this one case, like, because if we focus more on value education, these kinds of scenarios, this is one typical example we use for engineering ethics. In this situation, how to take a decision, or what will be the best solution, value education will not help, because it's an ethical dilemma that students have to analyze it critically and find out a solution. So value education will help a person to be ethical, but it will not help. I am not saying that completely it will not, but there will be a weakness. There's a limitation that to identify ethical aspects in issues. For that, they should be trained to understand what's the ethical issue and how to take best solution for any issue. I hope I will stop here.
Hi, so we are open for questions. And one of the questions I have is, what is the kind of strategy you have followed in engaging the students, and how much luck you have had in getting that to happen in some form, that students are able to come and say, oh, here is a problem I have, and here is an ethical issue I'm facing. Can we walk through it, or something to that effect? Are you able to get, what kind of reaction are you able to get from the students? Sorry.
So first we start with asking that whether what is the level, like whether they are able to identify small ethical issues in their life. So I always start my class like that. So sometimes students are able to, some students are not, because sometimes they think that it is right as accepted by our culture, so it should be right. So I bring some very kind of complicated examples, like we had system of sati, and that community or society accepted that as right, but killing a person or dying a person's husband's fire is not ethically right. No, like that, make them to think what is wrong with their judgment. I start like that and give cases, professional case scenarios. Suppose our syllabus contains different theories in the beginning. So I think any professional ethics or engineering ethics syllabus must be starting with these basic theories like utilitarianism, deontology, virtue ethics, etc. So uh, when we start with utilitarianism, we'll give examples like this and ask them to discuss there are different stages of analyzing the theory. That is application of theory. There are some components, and they have to analyze each component. Like for example, what will be the first we start with what is the exact ethical issue in this case, and who are the affected parties, whether directly or indirectly, and what are the consequences. Suppose you are taking a decision that it should be stopped. So what will be the consequences? So like that, they will analyze that in a group, and the group members can again criticize or disagree. And finally, I ask them to present that whatever the discussion they have. And suppose I clearly mentioned that whatever the final solution you give, you have to give exact reason for why you are saying that, okay, this is ethically right to take decision to allow that engineers to go with this project, or why you are saying that no, it should not be allowed. And the other group can, when the other group come up with some other solution, and they can criticize it. So it will help them to understand or look at the issue from multiple perspective. So I always encourage them to look at, do like that way. That is to look at an issue from a multiple perspective, and they will come up with the solution. They will be finally able to understand, okay, these are the limitations of this argument, and these are the limitations of this argument, and why it should be. Now, I always keep some solution in my mind, so that finally to conclude, if I keep a solution, and suppose students are giving some arguments which exactly go against my argument, that is also fine. I keep it open. So I believe that some solution you offer, and ask them to criticize and find out what is the limitation and what is the strength, and so that they can, because there is no absolute final solution for any ethical dilemma. We can only find out best solution for that. So you suppose I provide a best solution, and you tomorrow you come up with, say that these are the problem with this, and these are the weakness, and this is the best solution. It should be accepted. It's like.
Thank you. Sudhir, you have a question, or anybody else in the audience? Please ask a question. Either raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask the question.
One question from my side is, there are 2 points in that. First is, if critical thinking is a very integral part of ethics training, is it useful to position the course as a critical thinking course and drop the word ethics? Then probably some of these issues of evaluation, credits, and other things could get addressed in a different way. Right? Because there may be a lot more demand for people to say critical thinking skills are important and somebody wants to learn it. And is it useful positioning it like that? That is one. Second is, can this be addressed at the PhD research scholars and in faculty development programs?
Okay, go ahead.
So the first one, that critical thinking skills. Now, it is useful if we offer critical thinking skills as a course. Means there are courses, there are universities which offer this course in critical thinking skills. Now, only small issue will be there, that whatever the examples we take, it may not be always ethics oriented. So what I suggest is that ethics as a separate course will be more helpful than, but this can be one component of improving critical thinking skills. Now, the second related to research ethics. Related to research ethics also, this people say that I have done research, so and I know research ethics, so anybody can teach research ethics. So now UGC has given a new guidelines for a full-fledged course on research ethics. It's a recent one. So it consists of, it's like half of professional ethics contents are there, and then half is related to purely on research, like plagiarism and all those ethical issues related to data collection, analysis, etc., and reporting, etc. But philosophical theories are there part of that course, research ethics. Now, both, it can be an overlapping course, but in professional ethics, we focus mainly on that, examples which are from the professional context, which are from, like, it can be business or engineering or in any kind of like employer-employee relations or different contexts. But research ethics means that examples and all will be mainly focusing on research related. So there may be some differences. It's not completely professional ethics course. What was the last one? I forgot.
I am Rakesh Rajaguru. I am faculty in engineering diploma. So my question is that they say we on and off when we hear that this bridge has collapsed or this ride has collapsed or this boat has capsized. Like that, those are the engineering failure in one or other way or safety failures on our part. So in every subject which are critical to the critical for the safety and upkeeping the moral values, student must be informed about the various aspect of that thing, their moral responsibility. Otherwise, what we see that structural engineer designs certain building, and if his one's name is very of very high order, then everybody will go to that party and get their design. But once earthquake come, the whole thing will be exposed that how that fellow was, and that he was or she was following the moral practice. So such type of this moral there cannot be a quick fix solution for moral teaching and moral learning. So such type of practice should be made. Say in medical science, they are having certain chapters about this moral things. So likewise, an engineer also, he or she must be sensitized that these are the areas where I have to keep myself of higher order and higher order in moral values.
Yeah, it is a part of that syllabus. Like it starts from the theory, then professional responsibilities related to each profession, like engineering, medicine, etc. So it depends on what. Now we have engineering students, so we focus more on engineering and business. Suppose you are in a medical profession, then that focus will be on those. And the examples also, that is why I mentioned professional examples with this very complicated issues. At least we cannot make anyone like finest ethical person in the world in whatever the course you offer. At least you can ensure that before doing something, they think, is it right, or is any problem with my ethical judgment? So that thinking only we can get as an outcome of whatever you teach. So for that, as you mentioned, it's rightly pointed out that examples are important, like and also the examples, real life examples. That discussing that will help them to, among each other, among as a group discussion will help.
Because I feel behavioral change is basic in moral learning. Otherwise, there will be no value or there will be no say context of this exercise.
That also, like behavior, that it's an outcome of various factors. So some people, that is why Dr. Sudhir has mentioned ethics of care. That in relationship, in a professional context, it is important to understand the other person, and we have to help the other person to improve. And now behavior, some people are coming from different backgrounds, and people may not be able to understand the other person, and people will misunderstand their behavior. So there are issues like that. It's not necessarily always the person may be very innocent, but when the person takes a decision, that person might take a foolish decision. And so these are all interconnected, and there are various factors which influence. And as a professional, the person should understand that these factors influence. So I should not simply make a judgment, okay, that no, the person is ethically right or wrong. We have to understand what was the intention of the person, or the person really meant to do like that or meant to behave like that. So that is the way that that we can maintain a good relationship in a professional scenario.
Could I ask about the challenge of grading in an ethics class? Is it the case that the students who are pursuing high grades would learn to give answers in which they disregard their self-interest in the case to interests of other people, knowing that such a solution will get a higher grade from in an ethics class? If such a strategy is not to be rewarded by a higher grade, what should the instructor do in deciding on the grade?
It's not necessarily to disregard self-interest, because
I know, you know, and I know that, but how would a student look at it? Will the student look at the course as a course in which you get a higher grade if you lower the self-interest or the interest of other people?
see that is the person should not really disregard the self-interest to get a good grade, because the instructor is ensuring that everyone is getting an equal chance. It's not that you are giving some preference to some group of students or nothing like that. So you are getting an equal chance to perform, and you perform well and you get a good grade. Now, why that person should disregard self-interest? That to maybe as the previous exam, that to improve the others' condition. That's why I mentioned theory of moderation. You should not be too you should not be too foolish to simply, because self-interest also, you should know how to improve yourself. That is also part of ethics. That is your moral responsibility. Now, when we teach ethics, we say that suppose you can be like Edward Snowden. You blow the whistle and you make your life at risk. Now his life is at threat, so it's very difficult for him to survive. He's considered as a hero, but you don't need to be a hero like that. It is nothing wrong. You can keep your life at stake and be a hero, and you can disregard your self-interest, but it's not necessary. So to being ethical, it's not necessary that you have to really disregard your self-interest. No, because that is also important. When you try to improve yourself, that is, at the same time, you have a duty to help others to improve themselves in their profession or personal, we can say, growth. Any other question?
I'm muted, sorry. I was muted. I'm extremely pleased that over 35 people attended this lecture. Clearly shows the importance as well as the need for teaching ethics in engineering. And I think we all struggle with it because of the way we have to teach them. I used to teach them using case studies, everything from shuttle to Boeing 737 or 787, and also the deep oil blow up in Gulf of Mexico. In all of these cases, engineers warned their managers something could happen and it was ignored. So there is also this notion of conflict between two different positions within an engineering firm of what they feel they should do and override sometimes the right ethical judgments, right? So from my point of view, I think it's a very important topic and also should be taught with case studies more and more so that they know, like you said, where the moderation comes into play in all of these things. If there are no more questions, I will close the session. Any of you last attempt to make a remark?
Yeah, one just observation is that when we want to look at, we can discuss decisions, but the evaluation and the process may really focus on the way people explore the problem better.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yes.
you can even give a certain perspective to the problem and ask people to argue why that should not be the case. Right. So That way, constraining that process towards that might help in the evaluation, but promoting this process of critical thinking would probably be at the root of this.
That's why teacher's role is very important. The teacher should be unbiased.
There was one, I think somebody, Sheila, was wanted to speak.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Okay, my concern is that, no, I mean, how, can you suggest some sources for these case studies? Because now I'm teaching design engineering. There is a module like ethics in design. So
Okay.
I just want to put it using case studies, but proper case studies I'm not getting. So can you, anybody can help me in that?
If you share your email ID, I can send you. I have a lot of cases.
Oh, okay, thank you. How do I share? Shall I do that here
In the
itself?
chat, you can put in the chat. I will note down.
So it's for everyone? Oh, that's fine, no?
Yeah,
If I may, what I want to mention is that in the US, NSF did 700 case studies of engineering ethics. If you just type engineering and ethics cases NSF in Google, you will get a whole set of cases that have been enumerated, used in teaching, and so on. So the number of cases that are available are actually quite large. So you can actually go pick and choose the ones you want, dramatic ones versus more mundane ones in terms of deciding whether the thickness of the pipe is right for the kind of chemical you are carrying, what are the issues in that. So please send an email. I think you have your emails here. Send it to Professor Reena, and I will also send her some material which I know so that she can send it to you guys. Somebody else? I think some people want ethical cases for related to design.
these are all
Seems to be a burning issue.
Yeah, I'm very pleased in a way. If not, we will. Oh, somebody wants to take a picture, a journalist. Can you tell us something about yourself before we open all the cameras for you to take a picture? And if everybody agrees, that is. Okay, anyway, he did, I suppose. With that, we'll bring to close today's lecture. Thank you very much, Professor Reena Cheruvallath. And I think it's a very important issue. We would like you to be engaged in this CRE lectures so that you see how engineering is taught, as well as to see how we can improve the notion of ethics in the larger engineering community, not just everywhere. I think given the status of the world, I think we need more ethics in the way we design artifacts and systems. Thank you very much.